Good morning, doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning, Venkatesh. Good to be back.
Great. So our session for today is Be Decisive. This is part of our series on proactive wellness, on positive wellness, because being decisive is a very important aspect of being able to continuously take action. Uncertainty and choices are a part of our life, all our lives. But when we are indecisive, we get sort of frozen in inaction. And one of the most important things for our wellness is to keep acting and moving forward. And we'll examine that issue in today's topic, Be Decisive. Yes, doctor?
Yes.
Over to you. Doctor, just come a little bit in front, if you don't mind. Yeah, thank you.
Is it okay?
Yes, over to you, doctor.
Okay. Well, to be decisive is the easiest thing to say and the most difficult thing to practice.
Yes.
In fact, most of our activities and even our thoughts and deeds and other things are, we assume that we are being decisive, but we send out signals that are not decisive at all. This is the paradox that we have to learn to eliminate and then bring it to real decisive nature of communication and even existence. So being decisive, in short, in other words, appears easy, but practice is very difficult. So decisiveness is a trait or characteristic that describes people who are biased towards action. This is a bit complicated English, doesn't matter. Decisive people are always moving towards precision. Yeah.
Right.
And
or towards action. Yeah.
It's in their blood.
Right.
And for everything they would like to be decisive. For example, I personally feel that many times I am decisive and I am
Yes.
leaning to action.
Correct.
When others find it a bit too much. So, but so that decisiveness is inbuilt in our blood, and probably it is even genetically controlled, perhaps. But it can be learned, it can be practiced and acquired and put into good use.
Correct.
So again, not all aspects of decisiveness are good. We'll see how decisiveness can be a liability, but we should eliminate the liability part, and then we should move on with positive things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. I think an important point here also is that decisive people like everyone face uncertainty. The last sentence here. It's not like they face any less uncertainty, but you have to act nonetheless, like you said.
Even with uncertainty around, you have to be decisive. That is the real trick. Now, the essence of decisiveness or decisivity, if you like, was distilled by none other than William Shakespeare, the Bard of Avon or something. Okay.
Yes.
Now, he said in Hamlet, when Hamlet was in doubt as to what he's doing or where he's going, and that uncertainty sapped his energy, and he openly admitted that he was facing the existential crisis of to be or not be, and that is the question. And given character, Hamlet or others, carries this element with him like a shadow.
Right.
And he should learn to self-introspect sort of, and then correct it. Here indecisiveness is to be corrected and then focus back on action. Yeah. Any comment, Venkatesh?
No. Fantastic choice, doctor. One of the most immortal lines showing what indecision can do, right? Both that character and that very particular line embodies what happens when you are indecisive.
Right. The same thing put in different words. Decisiveness is a characteristic, okay, of high-performing men and women. High-performing. Now, mind you, high performers are very decisive. Sometimes decisiveness could be to their disadvantage, but I'm repeating this in different words. Brian Tracy, management expert, said that decisiveness is required because any decision is better than no decision at all. But many people, if they are left to themselves, they keep moving around here and there, being wishy-washy and not really leading to any focused action.
Exactly. That is the key.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, what you're saying is the key. The moment you're indecisive, you don't act.
Yeah. Correct.
Correct.
You freeze. Yeah.
Correct.
Next slide, please. Now, for many of us, decisiveness is carrying a wrong connotation,
Right.
where the ostrich example is given.
Correct.
Ostrich is a big, huge animal, a bird rather, but he
Right.
doesn't fly. And whenever he is in trouble, in the sands of beach or a riverbed or wherever,
Right.
ostrich, if it sees any potential harm or anything,
Correct.
simply digs his leg into this and then
Head
hides
into
his
the
neck.
sand. Yeah. Bury your
Yeah,
head in the sand. Correct.
yeah. So there you say, ostrich says, I am made up, my mind is made up.
Right.
So don't confuse me with facts. No, the mind is made up is good. Don't confuse me with bad. With facts is bad. So it's
Correct.
mixture of good and bad in one go.
Correct.
And God has created the ostrich like that.
Yeah.
So, but if ostrich continues to be confused with facts, then
Correct.
again, as we discussed, he'll be frozen and he'll be inactive. And
Correct.
the first sentence, half of the sentence is fine,
Correct.
but the rest is not. Next slide.
Yeah. No, and I think an important one, and I think you have mentioned, I don't know whether it's apocryphal or not, this was attributed to either Nixon or one of the American presidents.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
exactly like you said, and this is actually the tougher one, but we will discuss how soon how to handle that. Keeping yourself
Right.
open to new facts while remaining decisive is easier said than done, but it is something
Right.
we can train ourselves to do. Right? It is not
Right.
about
Right.
saying that we will not take any input from the world once we have made up our mind. But similarly,
Yeah.
to what you said, if you keep on taking only input, you will not act. And then another biological example is the deer frozen in the headlights. Right? You just freeze.
Right.
And that's
Right.
anathema to wellness, as we have been discussing. Yes, Tom.
Right. So, if you are decisive and if you are firm, you sound dogmatic. This is a paradox of being decisive.
Yes.
So you don't make good friends, you make enemies. When
Right.
you tell your enemies, you tell your contacts nearby, do it only my way. I am guided by my dogma. What is my dogma? I should do this, I should do that, I should not do this, I should not do that. That kind of dogmatic behavior leads on to this picture that you see above. You say, like Nixon.
Right.
Nixon, for this, you have to reach a critical point of input collection.
Correct.
You can keep on inputs, or you can not collect inputs at all. So
Right.
you have to have criticality of focus of the problem there.
Inputs. Yeah, no, that
And
is a very, very important point, Doctor. I want for us to repeat it for a minute. Like you said, that
right,
can only happen with a criticality of inputs. You need a
right,
certain amount of input before you can take this approach. Fantastic.
right. And Nixon could do it because he was the president of the biggest and most critical, army of the world. So he could afford to sort of say that, because there is a lot of people giving him inputs of the
Right.
highest quality. And so
Right.
he could take a particular line. You and I can't do it because we don't have access to that input. So
Correct.
you require a president of the United States,
No,
POTUS
but
as
I
they call
think,
it.
yeah, but I think it's valid in all situations. There's always there's finally a law of diminishing utility even with inputs, right? Once you've gotten
Right.
like you said, therefore I like the word you use, critical inputs. You need a
Yeah.
critical amount of inputs, enough to be able
Yeah.
to move to decisiveness. After that, further inputs are of not enough use, and you can keep on
Right.
waiting till the cows come home for new inputs. But you also mentioned very importantly that it creates a sort of dogmatic personality, those who are
Right.
decisive. And we will tackle how we work with that, right? And how we, with that strength of decisiveness, how we manage dogmatism, we'll handle as we go on. Yes.
So Harry Truman, the president of the United States, was a guy during the Second World War,
Right.
and he had to take important decisions where American troops were floating all over the world,
Right.
all the way from Japan to here, Rio de Janeiro or whatever. And he had to take decisions where he had to say no.
Correct.
Saying no is a tough thing. And then if you say no, you should explain why you are saying no.
Correct.
Then you should give a brief justification, and then you should say the buck passes here, stops here. The buck
Yes.
is a sort of, is a sort of what? It's an animal,
Oh, no,
deer.
and basically the responsibility stops with one. This is where
Stops here,
responsibility lies.
right?
Correct.
So the buck should not go further and should not go further, and the buck should stop there. This buck here is a coin, which you can see in pictures.
Correct.
The buck
Correct.
is a coin,
Correct.
and the
No,
coin
very
stops at.
no, very good example, doctor. Because I think, in fact, these are all fantastic examples. The buck stops here is not just for presidents. Even we have to take
Right,
accountability and say, look, I am responsible. I can't wait for somebody else to do it. So
right.
one of the traits of a decisive person is to say, look, I am responsible. The buck stops here. That's
Right,
one very good point to make. I think the second very interesting thing about this choice of example is Truman came after Roosevelt in Second World War. Roosevelt was a
right.
very big figure. When Truman came to become president, he was president, but everybody was a bigger personality than him. And this
Mm-hmm.
General MacArthur wanted to, in the Korean War, make it a much bigger war than he was ready for. And though people saw Truman as a not very strong person, he basically fired MacArthur, saying, "Look, the decision to go to war is the American president's. You as a you can't sort of drag me into it on the assumption I will just say yes." So
Right,
fantastic examples, fantastic. Yes,
right. Now, coming to this side of the universe, where we have got Ramayana and Mahabharata to guide us,
correct,
hmm, show us the direction and show us the wisdom. Now, here you see a picture of in Ramayana, Rama killing Wali.
right,
Now, legend has it that Wali had to be killed by Rama to have access to the Vanara Sena.
correct,
And Sugriva put a condition that I'll give you the kingdom, I'll give you the Vanara army, I'll give you that. But first you get rid of Bali.
Wali, correct,
And Bali was too powerful a man to be just killed like that.
correct,
So even Rama could not conceive of killing Wali because Wali was too big and he was also generous. Wali
right,
didn't mind. He said, you wanted the kingdom, no, take it like that. But then
correct,
Rama didn't want it that way. And it had to be properly done. And for that, the killing of Wali became an important element.
correct,
And then how to kill Wali? Is another powerful guy, 10 times more powerful than Sugriva. Yeah.
right,
So how to kill? And he said Rama's bow power can do it, but then he cannot stand straight there in front of Wali and shoot an arrow.
correct,
Because that won't happen. Because Wali will say, why are you killing me? You want the kingdom, take it, like that. That kind of dialogue went on for a while.
correct.
So they had to find a way of getting rid of Wali. And for that, they devised a methodology that sort of
Rama
fight
hid
will,
himself. Correct,
yeah, between Wali and Sugriva. And it was sort of stage managed.
correct.
So Sugriva pretended to act, and then Wali became a soft, sort of,
Target. Yeah.
what do you call that?
Soft target. Yeah,
Sitting.
yeah. Or rather, they caught them
Sitting.
unawares when Rama saw
Yeah.
that Sugriva was losing. He
Yeah.
shot Sugriva. He shot Wali from behind a tree, not
Right.
openly. Yeah. So it
Right.
was a messy decision. I guess the point we are making is that it was being decisive doesn't mean it's going to be a pleasant decision every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
But he had chosen his ally Sugriva, and there was a debate that Wali would have been as good an ally. Then why did you
Right.
kill Wali and leave Sugriva? But Rama's principles were clear. Sugriva is my friend, and I have to do what I have to do for bringing him to be able to help me. So
Right.
sometimes I think this is again a very great example, Doctor, that decisiveness doesn't mean that it will be perfect. There will be times when it can seem very messy and very uncomfortable, but that is the nature of decision as well. Fantastic. Yes.
Right. Right. Yeah. Next slide, please. Now, here is another example from Mahabharata.
Right.
You see Lord Krishna, in dark colored skin, and you see the other guys who are fairer,
Right.
and they are the gang of Duryodhana and Dushasana and all that. And this particular scene is a depicting of what can be done and what cannot be done. So Krishna took the role of sort of an important messenger, and he gave an ultimatum to Duryodhana If you don't give, even, if you don't give the kingdom, our share of the kingdom, I will go to war.
Right.
And
So Krishna
that was the
basically
time.
said, yeah, this is the point at which you will have to, it will go
Yeah.
from being a peaceful discussion to war. Correct.
Yeah. Not an inch of territory will be yielded. That was the so-called statement of Duryodhana. And Krishna said, okay, this is it. I'll go back and collect my army along with Arjuna and then proceed to go on war.
Correct.
And that's how the whole Mahabharata war
Correct.
started and ended. So when it started, there were lots and lots of, literally hundreds and thousands of senas.
Correct.
When the war ended, nobody was there except a few handful of guys who were, and their corpses were strewn all over and so forth.
So, Doctor, just a time check. We still have a good number of slides. So maybe we'll move a little bit quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but be comfortable. I just thought I'll tell you that we have another 6 or 7 slides. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think those slides will probably be compressed because
no
each
problem.
slide. Yeah. I'm okay.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Hanuman crossing the ocean was an example. And along with Hanuman, the entire Vanara Sena reached a point of where there is no place to go except the ocean for which you should know how to cross the ocean.
Correct.
If you don't know how to cross, then you're finished.
Correct.
And that was the time when the rest of the Vanara Sena was guided by, this all happened in the extreme southern tip of the land.
Correct.
And so Ram was not there to personally guide.
Correct.
Because left to the Vanara Sena, and they didn't know.
Or rather, Hanuman had to go and figure out whether Sita was on the other side. Yeah, we have discussed this.
Yes. For discuss.
Somebody had to take the leap. Quite
right. And they were not sure who would do it, and even Hanuman himself was not sure whether he was up to the mark. But then there it was.
And Jambavan helped him make up his mind, saying, there is nobody else you need to wait on. You are the guy. Just move ahead.
Right. So this was a decision taken. Hanuman could have said, single-handedly, I cannot do anything. So I decided rather not do anything and be sitting there doing penance and tapasya or something. So that was not on, because the call of the hour was go fight and find out Sita and proceed further to regain the lost territory and so forth. So this is again, it's a question of decision making, and each and every act of ours is a decision maker.
Correct.
It is said that if you want to add salt to your curry, if you want to add salt, you add salt, but then you stop adding salt at some point in time. You'll end up with a salty curry. So
very good. Very good. I think example, especially this really symbolizes what we are about to speak about. You have to take a leap of faith. This is quite literally the leap of faith, right?
Right.
And the second is even something like cooking. If you are indecisive, you can make a mess of your dish.
Right.
You have to finally make a choice, which is where we are now. Yeah.
Right. Now, when it comes to making choices, a good deal depends on how many items are there available as choice. For example, paradox of choice is a graph shown here. And if there are, on the one side, you say, what is that?
Less is
happiness
more.
Yeah. Can you read that, Venkatesh?
Yes. I think this is saying
too much of choice is bad. Too much of choice is bad.
Correct. It's stressful. We are not able to handle so much choice. So even in a consumerist world where we say, oh, we want all sorts of choices, these many shades of lipstick and these many flavors of ice cream, basically you get frozen when when you open a Zomato app, because there are just too many things staring at you. Absolutely.
Right. I give the example of sari shop. The sari shop will know that the X number of ladies are there and they will spend easily 10 minutes per sari. And he have to learn to live with that. And then my lady would say, well, I don't know how many to choose. But then finally they bring it down to 2 or 3 saris. And that is where you could make a choice.
Wonderful example again, because a good salesman knows when to. A good salesman keeps removing the excess saris from the table. So he brings you down to choosing between 2 saris, right? Because if you show too many, the lady will never choose, right? So a great salesman does exactly what you're saying. He will say, wo leke jao, take that away. Whatever is not going to get bought. Absolutely.
Right. And also, it is difficult to compare 10 items at a time. No?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that is true even for gents,
Yeah.
shirts.
That's just an example. Yeah. It's true for
Yeah,
all of us,
example.
men or
Right,
women.
right.
Yeah.
So if you analyze too much, you'll be paralyzed.
Correct.
Paralysis by analysis. Another management dictum.
Correct.
Your senses are paralyzed if there are too many items before you to decide on.
Correct.
So paralysis by analysis, is a thing. So everywhere people will boil down everything, all the choices down to 2 or 3 max.
Correct.
So this is true for any walk of life, any item at all.
Correct. Correct.
So that is to
Absolutely.
be kept in mind. So
And in fact, sorry, doctor.
yeah. No, I'm okay. No problem. Go ahead.
Now, I was just saying, now, I mean, enough times it's also been said, life
So,
rewards action and not intelligence, right? And not analysis. So you have to finally act.
right, right. Yeah. But first you bring down the things to 2,
Correct.
then you decide. You can't decide,
Across 5
more
or
than
6.
that. So yeah. So when you are down to two elements, there are always two sides of that story or whatever.
Correct.
And so you can compare.
Correct.
And for that, again, there are, say, Vinku,
No, you're saying
something.
it very well, doctor. Yes, absolutely. Perfect. When you bring it down to 2, there will always be 2 sides to the story.
Yeah, you have to bring it down to 2 before decide. So otherwise you're deciding in thin air.
Correct.
And once the 2 sides are identified, then there are 2 sides to the whole story. You say whether the red sari or yellow sari or what, you bring it down to that. And then you hear out each and every aspect of that problem, whether it is management issue or even an issue by the roadside. You have to listen to both sides of the story. And before that, you can't say, I have made up my mind. You can say, I have made my mind if I reach a point of criticality, as we saw a little earlier. Bring it down to 2, say no to one, say yes to another, and then proceed. Now, this requires very clear thinking and good emotional intelligence and so forth, to bring it down to that. There are 3 saris lying there, you like all of them, but then you are emotionally attached to both, then you are frozen. So instead of that,
Fantastic. I love this this way of bringing it down to 2. Then you can spend the time productively in evaluating the 2 rather than getting frozen. Very good.
Yeah, then your decision becomes binary.
Correct.
So that's easier to handle.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now every decision that you take is a sort of an action where you have to perform that leap of faith.
Correct.
You see a child here, and the child throws himself up there, and he knows because the daddy is standing there to catch him, he won't fall down or something.
Correct.
So he's having a moment of faith exhibited there. And every decision, like Hanuman's Samudra, the crossing or whatever.
Correct.
So there is a faith element. And every decision is based on a faith.
Correct.
So
and that is because, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, and that is because even after all the what you said in the previous slide, right? You listen to both sides, you think about everything, you do all of that. There is still uncertainty, right? You can still not be sure that the thing you are doing is the only right thing. Then you still have to act, and then you have to act on faith and make the decision right. You cannot depend upon having made the right decision. You have to now make the decision right. Perfect sequence. Yes.
They say the same thing about Sholay, the movie.
Yes.
So till the very last minute, they were not sure whether Dharmendra was the guy or Amitabh Bachchan was the guy to be chosen. But then they leap of faith and then took a decision. And then Amitabh Bachchan and this fellow Dharmendra were chosen. So everything is decision-making exercise. And for that, you trust your instincts. At the end of it all, you will say, you trust your instincts. That is again, trust your own inner voice. Now, what is the inner voice? The voice of God, etc. So that trust yourself, trust that insight, and proceed. Otherwise, nothing will be happening. Yeah. No phrasing, only action.
Perfect. Absolutely. This topic on trusting your instincts, I think, is worth a session unto itself, because I think 2 or 3 points you made today are really superb ones. You need this critical input, right? But at some point, what is the meaning of critical, and when does further input become by and large not so useful? You have to trust your instincts finally. And how do you know your instincts are the right ones? And it's a very interesting topic, so we should absolutely discuss this one of the days. Yes.
Yeah, Antaratma comes in there. Antaratma is divinity.
So this is the final slide, Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. The other side of decision making is, what is the cost of your indecision? You decide not to act, but there is a cost element in that. Whether it is Grivan, Vibhashana, or Duryodhana, or what. If you are not acting, there is a cost involved in that. And the cost of indecision can be phenomenal.
Correct.
Someone would tell you, we had to decide. So he had zero cost of indecision, but it may not have been the case. It could have been worse. It could be the opposite. So every decision has an equal and opposite indecision waiting to be tackled and brought. And there is a cost in that. There is a cost for a decision and the cost for indecision. Yes. Be aware of that. You are aware of both sides of the coin. So
fantastic point. Fantastic place to end, Doctor, because like you said, it's not between those two choices alone. It is also between acting and not acting. And sometimes when we are so hung up on, if this decision goes wrong, we forget to say, what if I didn't do anything? What is the cost? Right? And that cost is almost invariably a problem, because inaction brings with it significant cost, which is the cost of indecision. Yes. No, lovely talk, Doctor. I personally enjoyed today's session very much, and the choice of examples in the flow. Very good, very good. I think, like you said, you have lived this in your life. Your decision with my mother to come back from the US. You had to take such a decision, right? Or your decision to, various decisions at various points in time. There was no perfect answer, but one had to act. And so I think the fact that you have personally done this makes it very rich in terms of your thoughts on it.
Yes.
Great. So I'll summarize. So we talked today about, decision or decisiveness being a very central aspect of how we deal with the uncertainty and, plethora of choices in our life. We've been talking about the fact that wellness is all about action, right? If you sit idle, there is no wellness. And if you sit paralyzed by fear of uncertainty or indecision, there can be no wellness. So it's a given that you have to act and decide. So how do we decide? We need to decide with a certain critical set of inputs. You can't just say, I will decide with no inputs. We generally find that we do this better when we take a bunch of choices, boil them down to a couple, then listen carefully, think carefully. But finally, there is no avoiding a leap of faith. The way to take that leap of faith is to remember that if you don't act, also there is a cost of indecision. Yes. So that's the summary of today's discussion. Thank you so much, Doctor, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.